Lots to get through, but first, my big opinion. Parting is such sweet sorrow. It's the end of the affair for TV superstar Carol Vorderman and our new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. And to think they were once so much in love. For years now, National Treasure and multiple Rear of the Year winner Vorderman has been on social media raging about the evil Conservative government and urging her large band of followers to vote for Keir Starmer in July. Railing against what she considered Tory incompetence and corruption under various prime ministers, the dashing Sir Keir was the answer, with a more grown-up politics and support for the weakest members of our society, like the elderly. Oh dear. Unlike Carol, that hasn't aged very well, has it? Imagine Vorderman's shock and disappointment when this new government passed a vote on Tuesday to deprive 10 million pensioners of the winter fuel allowance. Yes, there are plenty of people who don't need the allowance, like Carol, for example, who recently sold her mansion for a reported £2.6 million. Wow, these lefties are getting richer by the day. But a third of those affected by her hero Keir Starmer's cruel policy are living in poverty. It's terrible, this, isn't it? The problem is that Carol helped make it happen. In fact, she fronted a targeted and rather complex campaign of tactical voting that helped install this Labour government, with Starmer achieving a huge majority despite winning 3 million fewer votes than Jeremy Corbyn in 2017. And now, thanks to Carol's efforts, millions of pensioners will be shivering in their homes this winter. And there's plenty more for Carol to get angry about. She can get angry about Ed Miliband and his rumoured plans to cancel a new nuclear facility and a refusal to grant new oil and gas licences, betting the House on flaky renewables, threatening higher bills in the long run, a blighted countryside and a long-term reliance on fossil fuels from nasty dictatorships. Carol can be angry about a government that says it wants growth but looks to have killed the economic momentum brought about by those evil Tories by threatening business with red tape and extra costs, raising taxes in the budget which will scare off investors and wealth creators, and talking down our economic viability with this lesser-spotted economic black hole, which is proving as elusive as the Loch Ness Monster. Carol can be angry about this new government scrapping plans to ensure free speech in universities, making it harder for middle-income families to educate their kids privately, or the scrapping of one-word Ofsted ratings, taking power and choice away from parents. As a mathematician, Carol can get angry about Labour's mooted plans to scale back the teaching of times tables at primary school. There is so much that Carol can get angry about. You see, there's an old saying, be careful what you wish for. Carol's dream of a Labour government has turned into a nightmare, not just for her, but for all of us. Now, Carol has asked the Prime Minister to apologise for his treatment of pensioners, but perhaps Carol could give us an apology for her hand in this. We've got the receipts for all of the times that she campaigned to chuck Rishi out, a man who delivered the highest economic growth in the G7 and 2% inflation. Instead, she wanted to bring Starmer in. We've also got the receipts of my warnings on this very programme about what would happen if Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. Biggest I told you so in history. So Carol Vorderman is the queen of the calculator. As a former star of Countdown, she's famous for her prowess with numbers, but her politics don't add up. In pushing for a Labour government, she's made a wrong calculation. And for poor Carol, it's proving to be a zero-sum game. Your reaction, please. gbnews.com/your say. But first, tonight's top pundits. I'm delighted to welcome broadcaster and comedian Sajeela Kershi. We have historian and presenter David Oldroyd-Bolt and ethnographer and academic Lisa Mackenzie. Great to see all three of you. Do you have any sympathy, Sajeela Kershi, for Carol Vorderman?
I do, and I'm actually very cross with you, Mark Dolan, for being so nasty about
You're not going
Carol.
to give me a spanking, are you?
I'm going to give you a very good spanking. I think, obviously you should have done a U-turn. But then it's OK to do a U-turn because the problem is there is no one in politics right now, no party, that is actually thinking about the ordinary people. So, yeah, of course, as you know, I've always been a bit about, Starmer. I'm not sure that he was out.
I think you wanted a Labour government, but you're no Starmer fan.
No, I'm not. And then I thought, you know what, give everyone a chance, right? So give him a chance. And it's only 2 months, to be fair, but the pensioners, really, seriously, that's a horrible Sophie's choice for pensioners this winter, eat or heat.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to cause a lot of deaths in pensioners, and that's going to be on Labour's hands. In terms of what Carol Vorderman is doing and saying, I think she speaks a lot of sense because she does support the right things, in my opinion, as a lefty. But I don't think she could have said anything else, and I think it's good that she was honest, that she thinks that he should apologise. But she has already said, by the way, just want to pick you up on the one point, when he said, she earns a lot of money, and she's made that clear, that I won't be one of those pensioners. It will be, and unfortunately, it will be the ordinary pensioners who don't have enough money to kind of even heat their homes. But I do think that there's no one in politics right now, including Reform are one-trick ponies, I'm sorry, and they shouldn't rest on their laurels and think that they've got the public vote. That was we'll see. You have to work hard to keep the public's vote.
4.1 million people did vote for Reform.
Yeah, are they going to stay voting for them, though? I don't think so.
Has Keir Starmer betrayed Carol Vorderman, and has he betrayed Britain, David?
In what regard could he possibly have said to have betrayed Carol Vorderman?
I have suggested that his approach over the next 5 years would be progressive. He'd look after the weakest in society. The first thing he does is chuck pensioners under the bus.
Well, it does seem like an odd thing to begin with, although I don't believe in universal benefits. I believe all benefits, if given, should be means tested, and I don't see why pensioners who, by asset price, are the richest people in society should be exempt from that, just as I think the Tory policy of the triple lock is an appalling policy which Labour have continued and is going to make the country very, very poor indeed, as the demographics of the country go towards being top-heavy. We can't afford it. We can't afford the social care that we need already, that the NHS is struggling to provide. How is it going to be in 10 and 20 years? We can't afford the society we have on the basis with which we fund public services at the moment. So I'm sorry if Carol Vorderman's annoyed, but in fact, I think Keir Starmer has done something unusually responsible for a Labour Prime Minister.
There you go. Lisa, what's your reaction to this whole Carol Vorderman story? She campaigned for a Labour government for years, and now she's furious about what the Prime Minister has done.
Well, she campaigned for a Labour government for years, but she also campaigned for a Tory government for years as well. Carol Vorderman has flip-flopped.
She's been on a journey.
Yeah, she's been on a journey. The fact is...
The road to hell.
The fact is, Carol Vorderman, I remember a sort of... praising Mrs Thatcher. She thought Mrs Thatcher was a decent Prime Minister. I happen to remember the times when Mrs Thatcher destroyed the communities that I lived in. And I don't remember Carol Vorderman over those years saying anything about working class miners.
Matt Hancock and then had a lovely drink with him at Royal Ascot.
Yeah, and this is why I don't think any of us should be taking these sort of celeb libs, because that's what Carol Vorderman is. She's a liberal.
What do you mean by that? What is a celeb lib?
Well, I suppose it's the celebrity liberal. They don't want to push it too far left because they actually don't want any change. But what they do want to do is be invited to number 10, and they want to go to the spectator parties, and they want to be involved in all that sort of media loving. And in order, if they push it to the left, they might not get invited. They don't want to, but they want to be popular in the media, and they want to be popular on Twitter.
So you think this is a posture, almost a career move, like a PR stunt, to be a left-wing celebrity?
I think there's so many of them, though. There's just so
Gary Lineker?
Yeah, so many of them. They sort of they position themselves on X, on Twitter, and then they sort of, they can be righteous on everything. Because when you've got nothing, when you've got heating and eating, and you can go out and you've got cab fare and you've got income, you can be righteous.
Yeah, most definitely. And you're insulated from the consequences of those luxury beliefs that you espouse on social media. So are you calling Carol Vorderman a champagne socialist then? Is that what she is?
I don't know whether she drinks champagne. I'm not, and I'm sure she's not a socialist. I think she's a celeb lib.
OK. I mean, David, ultimately, do you think this could be politically damaging for Sir Keir Starmer, for his biggest cheerleader, Carol Vorderman, to turn fire on him?
Well, I think it shows something about the paucity of ideas and personality in Keir Starmer that Carol Vorderman is his biggest supporter. If that's the best you can bring to your campaign, it doesn't really say much about the campaign, does it?
Because he could have had me.
Well, indeed.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
yes,
he could have
indeed.
never had me. No, he could never
we'd
have
have been
me.
fighting over your honour, Sajila.